All right. So here's a quick update on how this went about. You see the side panel is back on. I'm going to open it once again just to take a look at if there was sufficient gap, or maybe there was not sufficient gap for that raised protrusion to be accommodated. It doesn't feel loose from anywhere. This has gone in all the way on this side and on this side as well, and it seems like absolutely well placed, so no issues there, none that I can see. There does seem to be a little bit of mechanical noise as far as the head is concerned. I suspect it's the tappets that need a little bit of tightening up here. While I'm talking about this, I might as well speak a little bit as far as my experience with the bike is concerned. This is the new J series engine. You see J1 349 cc's here, big head, big block overall, and that makes it look almost like a parallel twin. And there are the media is ripe with news about a super Meteor coming up shortly, which is based on the chassis is the same, and I say that because the new ones have the same 41mm front forks, except that in the spy shots those are upside down. The size of the disc rotors is also the same, based on appears to be the same. Specifications are not out yet. So this is there are plenty of reviews out there on the internet as far as the Meteor is concerned, so we don't really need to have another one. But then if we already have so many, why not one more? This is the Fireball Red version, except that it came with some accessories here, and I will point those out. So the first thing that you see is the low ride seat, which reduces the seat height by another 20 millimeters. So it comes at 30 inches, which is 765 millimeters in the stock form. And the low ride brings it down by another 20 millimeters, which means it's almost 1 inch less. That is 745 millimeters. It makes it a lot comfortable, but I think it comes at the cost of cushioning. So I'm not really complaining about it, but because the seat is so big and my frame is not really made to size as far as this is concerned. If I was a little bit heavier or bigger built, that would have been a different story. But what happens basically is that if I sit in a relaxed posture all the way back, and because this has a slightly stiffer suspension, especially the rear one, on jerks and potholes, you tend to, kind of slightly get tossed up. And when that happens, I end up sliding a little forward, which is a very comfortable stance. But the fact is that if you have seen the touring seat, it comes with a risen portion so it's an entire arc which is raised, and that basically acts as a very low cushion or a backrest sort of thing. It should technically be called the bottom rest. So it stops you from sliding backward. It keeps you in place, and that gives you a very comfortable riding posture, which doesn't change based on the surfaces. Okay. The second thing that this one has is the backrest. Now this is something which in totality costs approximately 4,000 rupees, or let's say 420 pounds, or maybe almost like $550 US, because they charge you for two things. One is the backrest, and then you have to mandatorily buy this cushion pad, which is very firm. And if you ask me, it's a good addition, except as a rider, when you swing a leg over to get on or get off the bike, if you're not tall, I'm 5 feet 9.5 inches, and I haven't really measured my inseam, but I think it's 30 or maybe 31 inches. 31 inches more likely. So what happens is I end up brushing my shoes with the top of this sometimes. If you look closely, there's a little bit of a mark here, a scratch, which happened because of maybe a boot rubbing against it. So I'll see if I can get rid of that one. So these are the accessories I have on the bike so far. I'll show you the odometer. I hope you can see it. So far I have done 931.3 kilometers. This is the model made for India, which is why you see that kilometers per hour are on top and miles per hour at the bottom. I have seen the international models, the ones that they sell in the US and US and the UK. You have miles per hour on top, and it goes all the way up to 120 miles, which is approximately 200 kilometers. So the calibration is different. I've seen some videos when they're riding at 80, this, or maybe a little, let's say at about 70 miles an hour, this is where the speedometer is, somewhere around here. And that's why it goes all the way up to 120 by the time it reaches here. In this case, you see it ends at just 100. So there's a little bit of difference as far as the calibration is concerned. Usual stuff there, part digital, part analog instrument cluster. The primary one comes with a semi-circular fuel gauge, which again is not very reliable. As you can see, the machine is on the side stand right now, and it's showing me a total of 5 bars. If I were to put this on the main stand and leave it there for some time, it will slide back to 4 bars. So that's something which many people have observed. The other thing is that the reserve, which means the first one that you see here, the first bar, it starts blinking very soon, and when it starts blinking, you still have 5 liters of usable petrol in it. That's approximately 1/3. So the calibration is not linear. Let's just let you know. Okay, moving on to the Tripper, which is made in association with Google. It's showing the time right now because it's not connected to the RE app. Well, you've seen the instrument cluster already, so there's no point talking about it. I'll just give it a quick start. I'm not sure if the microphone is going to pick up the exhaust note, but in person I can tell you that there is a big difference as far as the exhaust note, the stock exhaust note, and the exhaust note after the airbox modification is concerned. So here is the rotary starter switch. It's in engine kill position right now. We're going to slide it to engine running, which basically means that the fuel pump is on, and then we're going to crank it up. This is a BS6 or a Euro 5, which means that the moment the engine is turned on, the headlight comes on. It's in low beam right now. You have the headlight control switches on the left-hand side panel. If you slide it to the right, it goes into pass mode. You can see this. And then, okay, let me see if I can get something here. So, forgive me for the surrounding noise. Okay, so I'm going to turn on the pass beam right now. There it is. And then I'm going to turn on the high beam. So the high beam is good. The low beam not so good, but the spread is decent. Okay, let's rev it up a little bit. Like I said, I'm not sure how much the microphone is going to take, but still. That's it. We're going to shut this down for a moment, talk a little bit more about the bike. Okay, I just realized you may not have heard everything I said because of the noise, but okay, I said we're going to shut this down, we're going to talk a little bit about the machine, and then maybe end the video. Okay, so it's almost 1,000 kilometers that I have ridden this for. The bike, I'll tell you very honestly, has grown on me. I'm a returning rider. Many of you would be aware of Iron Butt Association, or, well, it's about people who have, quite literally, well, in a way, the butts made of iron, because they can be on the saddle for long hours, and I'm talking about an entire day, 24 hours, not just the sunlight time. So that was many, many years ago, and now after coming back, okay, I'm sure you can see in the mirror, I'm wearing a Royal Enfield t-shirt which says "Made like a gun." I have quite a collection of it, including a few customized ones, so a little bit of bragging there. Okay, so really well built machine. Everything feels strong, sturdy, well put together. You can say, look at the build quality here. Everything is well put together. The panel gaps are all under control. Just look at the thickness of the fork. It's 41 millimeters. It's the same size which is used in the Interceptor twins, 650 twins, Interceptor and Continental GT. Same as the size of the rotor, except maybe, I'm not 100% sure about this, but the front disc on this one is 300 millimeters. The Interceptor and Continental are either 300 or 320. Not 100% sure, but that's close. So, again, take a look at the fork. It's pretty meaty. The front tire is 100 by 90 R, not R, 100 by 90, 19 section. Comes with alloy wheels across the range, which means Supernova and Fireball get all blacked out alloys, and no, I need to correct myself. Fireball and Stellar get all black alloy wheels, and in case you decide to buy a Supernova, this portion will be machined out for you, so that gives you a nice shiny finish. But then these pinstripes, which is basically a sticker, is something that you get only on the Fireball variants. You don't get that on the Stellar, you don't get that on the Supernovas. A few issues here and there. For example, take a look at the horn. These connectors here, they came a little loose, and after the first heavy downpour in which I had ridden it, I noticed a change in the sound of the horn, and that was a little annoying. You know, these kind of things shouldn't happen. However, these are not major issues, tiny things, and when I tightened these connectors after that, the sound of the horn went back to its usual self, which is a good thing. So that problem is no longer there. The chassis, double down tube frame, is pretty solid, and you can feel that, and it's especially aided by the slightly stiffer suspension, which gives you very good ride. So it's a semi-cruiser, but still it feels very eager to go into corners. Of course, there are speed restrictions. You can't treat this as a scalpel, for example, which is the KTM. But still, a lot of fun riding this machine. The size of the engine is very, very significant. I mean, just look at it. It doesn't look like it's a 350. It would have been right at home if the cylinder had a 650 bore. But still, I mean, so, and then when you look at the possibilities of how this platform can evolve, especially when we're looking at the possibility of a 650 cruiser coming up based on this very platform, you realize why they made what they made. So again, these are the stock foot pegs, which are good sized. There's a deluxe version available as well, but if you look at the size of the pads here on the brake lever, it's good. I mean, you don't get that kind of thick rubber cushioned pads on anything else that I have seen, at least in the Indian market. I'm not sure about how this compares with options or the competition in the more mature markets, but this is something which is very good. Same goes for the rear foot pegs. These are pretty chunky and very comfortable. above all. The shocks are chunky sized. The rear tire is the star of the show here. It's a 140 section Seat Zoom tires, which are pretty good. These come loaded with the Seat tires in India as well as internationally. 140 70 17 inches, so pretty chunky tire. Take a look at this. However, I personally feel that 130 would have aided maneuvering a little bit. Take a look at the stock here. This is all black powder coated. Now, if you have watched a fair bit of videos on modifications as far as the Meteor exhaust is concerned, you would have known, and even if you don't know that, this is a heat shield. This is another heat shield, so there are two heat shields here. This one, so I'll show you the routing here. You have the exhaust pipe which comes from there, and it comes all the way here, and this is where the trick really happens. You see that big box here? I'll try and show you an inner view. This is the collection chamber for the catalytic converter, because this is a Euro 5 or a BS6 emission stage compliant machine. And what happens here is the exhaust comes in from there, here it comes, and then it goes inside the collection chamber. So this pipe is not continuous straight. You have a 90-degree bend here. This is the inlet. That's where the exhaust gets processed, and then it comes out from there and goes into the muffler, which is multi-chambered like it usually is. A lot of people, what they have done, and even if this is an illegal modification in India at least, and I'm hearing that the government in the UK is also planning to bring in legislation to stop people from modifying their motorcycles, so they remove this converter completely, and it's one piece over here with two inlets, as in one inlet and one outlet. This piece is separate, and this piece is separate. So if you take this box out, you'll have an empty area which doesn't connect the exhaust line. So if you connect one straight tube or pipe here, but then you have to take care of one thing which I'll talk about in a bit. If you connect this straight, then the catalytic converter is bypassed altogether. So everything that is inside, which is a mesh basically, is gone. That resistance has been simply taken out of the picture. And you have one straight flowing exhaust right from the cylinder head there, all the way going straight into the muffler. So it does two things. In fact, it does three things. One, since the resistance is gone, you will feel that the machine is running a lot more freely. The revs will go up, even though it comes with an electronic speed limiter. The company doesn't admit it, but it does not go beyond 120 kilometers per hour or 75 miles an hour. And I'm sure you realize that Indians are good at conversion between units. So that's one thing. That's one thing it does. The second thing is that it improves the thump, because this thing is no longer there. It doesn't suppress the decibels. So you get nice, meaty, raspy sound from it. That's the second benefit. The third thing, and I'm not saying a benefit because it's just a thing, it's a negative thing actually. You are no longer BS6 or Euro 5 compliant, which means you are pumping out more and more of poisonous gases into the atmosphere. So that's bad for the environment. If you're in India, that's bad for you from a legal point of view as well, because you're likely to get penalized for that. Maybe even imprisonment for some time. I'm not 100% sure, but that's how it happens. Okay, so that is pretty much about it. I think it's pretty usable, pretty practical. I mean, so if people in the UK or US are watching this, they call it ladies' bike, or for beginners, or for returning riders. That is correct to some extent, but at least in India, and then there is also the fact that it's built for a purpose. if you want relaxed cruising, and in India, I'll tell you something, there are many expressways on which you cannot take a motorcycle because, because it is like that, let's say. So the ones that you can take these on the highways, the speed limit is 100 kilometers per hour, which is somewhere between 66 to 67 miles an hour. This machine is very much capable of holding that kind of speed pretty much the entire day long. Now, even if you stay at just about 60 miles an hour, which is a very sweet spot for this engine, you will love the ride. It's very pliant, it's comfortable. That seat, I'm sure, you can imagine, if you haven't ridden one, you can imagine how comfortable this could be. So the best thing which I like about this, and I rode the Interceptor 650 and this one when I was making a buying decision, even though there's a great possibility that I would change this in the favor of something based on the 650cc platform, but that's not happening today. So the biggest deciding factor for me was the comfort of the seat. So I'm gonna get on the saddle just to relive that moment. So that view which I got, so I hope you heard the sound of the meaty side stand. So just take a look at this. This is what I see when I ride, exactly like this. And that was the biggest factor for me. So it's very comfortable. The Interceptor does not come anywhere close to it. Neither does the Continental. The second thing is that because it's not a very fast machine, it allows you to soak in everything that you are passing by. Nothing like it. I don't mind doing somewhere between 50 to 60 miles an hour, which is 80 to 96, 95 kilometers per hour. That's a decent speed. All day long, just cruising in a very relaxed fashion and enjoying everything that I get to see on the way. So I don't want to make this video much longer. It's already 22 minutes, but I hope this helps some more people make a more informed decision if they are not sure about Meteor. And this is not a professional kind of review. This is something which is very casual but comes from a user, someone who's been a biker for a very long period of time. And before I sign off, what I'm going to do for you is I'm going to give you a taste of the sound just one more time. So I love the sound of the fuel pump. You can even hear that if you are maybe just moving it around 20-25 kilometers per hour in second gear. Sounds really good. Thanks for watching.